The Life and Sad Ending of Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford was born on July 13, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, U.S., the son of former radio actress Dorothy and advertising executive and former actor John William Christopher Ford. Ford was a Boy Scout, achieving the second highest rank of Life Scout. He worked at Nappawan Adventure Base Scout Camp as a counselor for the Reptile Study Merit Badge. Ford graduated in 1960 from Maine East High School in Park Ridge, Illinois. His voice was the first student voice broadcast on his high school's new radio station, WMTH, and he was its first sportscaster during his senior year. He attended Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin, where he was a philosophy major and a member of the Sigma Nu fraternity. A self-described late bloomer, Ford took a drama class in the final quarter of his senior year to get over his shyness and became fascinated with acting. Ford has been married 3 times and has 4 biological children and 1 adopted child. He was first married to Mary Marquardt from 1964 until their divorce in 1979. They had 2 sons, chef and restaurateur Benjamin and clothier Willard. Benjamin co-owns Ford's Filling Station, a gastropub with locations at LA Live in Los Angeles and Terminal 5 in Los Angeles International Airport. Ford's second marriage was to screenwriter Melissa Matheson from March 1983 until their separation in 2000 and finalized divorce in 2004. They had a son, actor and musician Malcolm, and a daughter, actress Georgia. He began dating actress Callista Flockhart after they met at the 2002 Golden Globe Awards. They are the parents of Liam, the son she adopted before meeting Ford. He proposed to Flockhart over Valentine's Day weekend in 2009. They married on June 15, 2010, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where Ford was filming Cowboys and Aliens. Ford and Flockhart live on an 800-acre ranch in Jackson, Wyoming, on which he has lived since the 1980s and approximately half of which he has donated as a nature reserve. They also retain a base in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. He is known as one of Hollywood's most private actors, guarding much of his personal life. In her 2016 autobiography The Princess Diarist, his co-star Carrie Fisher claimed that she and Ford had a 3-month affair in 1976 during the filming of Star Wars. Life undergoing ups and downs made him always looking for new things, and in his acting, he constantly renewed himself, being better and more receptive than amusing, helping his passion endure firm. In 1964, after a season of summer stock with the Belfry Players in Wisconsin, Ford traveled to Los Angeles to apply for a job in radio voice-overs. He did not get it, but stayed in California and eventually signed a $150 per week contract with Columbia Pictures' new talent program, playing bit roles in films. His first known role was an uncredited one as a bellhop in Dead Heat on a merry-go-round. Ford was at the bottom of the hiring list, having offended producer Jerry Tokovsky after he played a bellboy in the feature. His speaking roles continued next with Love, though he was still uncredited. He was finally credited as Harrison J. Ford in the 1967 Western film A Time for Killing, starring Glenn Ford, George Hamilton, and Inger Stevens, but the J did not stand for anything since he has no middle name. Ford playing minor roles in many television series throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, including Gunsmoke, Ironside, The Virginian, The FBI, Love, American Style, and Kung Fu. Ford became a self-taught professional carpenter to support his then wife and 2 young sons. Casting director and fledgling producer Fred Roos championed the young Ford and secured him an audition with George Lucas for the role of Bob Falfa, which Ford went on to play in American Graffiti. After director Francis Ford Coppola's film The Godfather was a success, he hired Ford to expand his office and gave him small roles in his next 2 films, The Conversation and Apocalypse Now. In the latter film, Ford played an Army officer named G. Lucas. In 1981, Ford's status as a leading actor was solidified with Raiders of the Lost Ark, an action-adventure collaboration between George Lucas and Steven Spielberg that gave Ford his second franchise role as the heroic, globe-trotting archaeologist Indiana Jones. Like Star Wars, the film was massively successful and became the highest-grossing film of the year. Ford went on to reprise the role throughout the rest of the decade in the prequel Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which co-starred Spielberg's future wife Kate Capshaw, and the sequel Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which co-starred Sean Connery as Indy's father, Henry Jones Sr. During the June 1983 filming of Temple of Doom in London, Ford herniated a disc in his back. The 40-year-old actor was forced to fly back to Los Angeles for surgery and returned 6 weeks later. Following his leading man success as Indiana Jones, he played Rick Deckard in Ridley Scott's dystopian science fiction film Blade Runner. Compared to his experiences on the Star Wars and Indiana Jones films, Ford had a difficult time with the production. While not initially a success, Blade Runner went on to become a cult classic and one of Ford's most highly regarded films. Ford also proved his versatility throughout the 1980s with dramatic parts in films such as Witness, The Mosquito Coast, and Frantic, as well as the romantic male lead opposite Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver in the comedy-drama Working Girl. Witness and The Mosquito Coast, in particular, allowed Ford to explore his potential as a dramatic actor, and both performances were widely acclaimed. In the 1990s, Ford became the second of 5 actors to portray Jack Ryan in 2 films of the film series based on the literary character created by Tom Clancy, Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. Ford also played leading roles in other action-based thrillers throughout the decade, such as the critically acclaimed The Fugitive, The Devil's Own, and Air Force One. For his performance in The Fugitive, which also co-starred Tommy Lee Jones, Ford received some of the best reviews of his career, including from Roger Ebert, who concluded that Ford is once again the great modern movie everyman. As an actor, nothing he does seems merely for show, and in the face of this melodramatic material he deliberately plays down, lays low, gets on with business instead of trying to exploit the drama in meaningless acting flourishes. He also played more straight dramatic roles in Presumed Innocent and Regarding Henry, as well as another romantic lead in Sabrina, a remake of a classic 1954 film with the same name. From 1977 to 1997, he appeared in 14 films that reached the top 15 in the yearly domestic box office rankings, 12 of which reached the top 10. 6 of the films he appeared in during this time were also nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture amongst numerous other awards: Star Wars, Apocalypse Now, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Witness, Working Girl, and The Fugitive. In the late 1990s, Ford started appearing in several critically derided and/or commercially disappointing films that failed to match his earlier successes, including 6 Days, 7 Nights, Random Hearts, The Widowmaker, Hollywood Homicide, Firewall, and Extraordinary Measures. One exception was What Lies Beneath in 2000, which grossed over $155 million in the United States and $291 million worldwide. Ford served as an executive producer on K-19, The Widowmaker and Extraordinary Measures, both of which were based on true events. In the 2001 Guinness Book of World Records, Ford was listed as the richest male actor in the world. In 2008, Ford enjoyed success with the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the first Indiana Jones film in 19 years, and another collaboration with Lucas and Spielberg. In 2013 began a trend that saw Ford accepting more diverse supporting roles. That year, Ford co-starred in the corporate espionage thriller Paranoia with Liam Hemsworth and Gary Oldman, who he had previously worked with in Air Force One. And he also appeared in Ender's Game, 42 and Anchorman 2. The legend continues. His performance as Branch Rickey in 42 was praised by many critics and garnered Ford a nomination as Best Supporting Actor for the Satellite Awards. In 2014, he appeared in The Expendables 3 and the documentary Flying the Feathered Edge, The Bob Hoover Project. The next year, Ford co-starred with Blake Lively in the romantic drama The Age of Adeline to positive notices. Ford reprised the role of Han Solo in the long-awaited Star Wars sequel Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which became massively successful like its predecessors. During filming on June 11, 2014, Ford suffered what was said to be a fractured ankle when a hydraulic door fell on him. He was airlifted to John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, England, for treatment. On February 26, 2015, Alcon Entertainment announced Ford would reprise his role as Rick Deckard in Blade Runner 2049. The film, and Ford's performance, was very well received by critics upon its release in October 2017. In 2019, Ford had his first voice role in an animated film, as a dog named Rooster in The Secret Life of Pets 2. With filming for a fifth Indiana Jones film having been delayed by a year, Ford headlined a big-budget adaptation of Jack London's The Call of the Wild, playing prospector John Thornton. The film was released in February 2020 to a mixed critical reception, but its theatrical release was shortened due to the impact of the coronavirus disease on the film industry. That's what up until this point happened to him. Overcoming the hardships and risks in his career, he brought himself into a world where there was an eternal belief.